does God really exist? The fundamental question about the existence of God has intrigued humanity throughout history and remains a topic of great debate. While opinions and beliefs about God abound, answering the question, does God really exist? It's not something that can be approached in a superficial way. It requires a deeper analysis and the consideration of various perspectives, evidence, and arguments. Ultimately, the question of God's existence is complex and influenced by multiple factors. But in this exploration, we'll highlight some of the reasons that lead to the conclusion that God does exist. Welcome to Perspective 360. Often, the question is phrased as, can you prove that God exists? However, truth itself is something absolute. And finding absolute proof outside of pure logic and mathematics is considerably rare in everyday life. Even in courts, absolute proof isn't required. Instead, the goal is to eliminate reasonable doubt and consider what is most probable. Therefore, demanding irrefutable proof of God's existence can be unrealistic, as neither evidence nor people work that way in the real world. The concept of faith plays an important role in the question of God's existence. Faith doesn't necessarily mean believing in God without evidence, but rather trusting in what we know and believe despite not having absolute knowledge. In many aspects of life, we act based on trust and faith, even when we don't have all the information. This applies to both believers and skeptics alike. For some, the existence of God is based on human experience. We observe the morality of our lives and in society, and this leads us to think of a higher moral standard that transcends the purely physical. Furthermore, the complexity and order in the universe suggest an intelligent design, which leads to the idea of a creator. Throughout history, most cultures and people have leaned their belief toward the existence of a higher reality. Logic also plays an important role in this reflection. Cosmological, teleological, that is, pertaining or relating to teleology, a philosophical doctrine or science that tries to explain the universe in terms of its purposes or ends, and moral arguments are examples of logical reasoning that point toward the existence of God. The cosmological argument suggests that there must be an uncreated and eternal initial cause for our universe. The teleological argument points to the evident design in nature, and the moral argument posits the existence of a universal law. Science also sheds light on the matter. The Big Bang Theory, for example, supports the idea of a universe created at a specific point in time. Archaeology has confirmed events and places mentioned in the Bible. Furthermore, the influence of faith on culture, history, and morality is undeniable. However, beyond all these proofs and arguments, personal experience plays a fundamental role in the belief in God. Many people have experienced profound changes in their lives, transformations in their attitudes, and answers to prayers that reinforce their conviction that God exists. For many, a personal relationship with God is the most convincing proof of His existence. In short, the question of whether God exists is complex and multifaceted and can't be answered in a simple or definitive way. However, there are numerous pieces of evidence and arguments that suggest the existence of God, from human experience to logic, science, and history. Faith plays an important role in this reflection, and a personal relationship with God can provide a deeper experience of His existence. Albert Einstein said, "Science without religion is lame. Religion without science is blind." If you have doubts about the existence of God, consider the option of believing. That belief is always more beneficial, and, in case you're not wrong, at least you won't have lost a lifetime in uncertainty and your soul for eternity. And what do you believe? This is Perspective 360, where we value every opinion.